I am excited because we have Dr. Charles Smith here, but first I want to make sure that we recognize our partners and our sponsors. Can we give every single partner and every sponsor who made this event possible a big round of applause? Yeah. And I got a cool fact. Before we get started. So in 1994, Heidelberg hosted its first official street festival. I think I was actually there when I think about it. I was 5 years old at the time. Detroit City Council person Marianne the Happy was a guest speaker, and so was Esther Gordy, the founder of the Motown Museum. Motown legend Martha Reeves and the Spain Marching Band performed, and it was also in 1994 that Heidelberg also received its first 3 copyrights. 1994 was a dope year. Everybody say it was a dope year. And so I'm going to read a brief bio on Dr. Charles Smith. Listen, I heard Dr. Smith drove all the way here from NOLA. Did he drive up from New Orleans straight? 19 hours. He said, when God gives you a mission, you don't need permission. That's what he told me. I love it. So I'm going to read his quick bio. Internationally acclaimed artist and activist and self-proclaimed Doctor of Art, Charles Smith, affectionately known as the Doc, will share his experience creating art installations for over 30 years in 2 sites, Aurora, Illinois, and New Orleans, Louisiana. Doc will also discuss his experience working with the Culver Foundation and his personal pact and dedication to Tyree and Janine. So he's going to come and he's going to give a presentation, and then Dr. Whitfield is coming up to moderate the question and answer period with the audience. This is the Artist Spotlight, so can we give a big round of applause for Dr. Charles Smith.
Are we up here? Good morning.
Good morning.
First and foremost, I want to commend Tyree and Janine and the entire staff and board for the excellent exhibit of cultural information regarding art on yesterday. I had never been in an audience so overwhelmed with knowledge and wisdom and understanding. They certainly put a show on. I've been getting calls all day all morning and last night about, where you at, man? What's happening? What's going down? I said, I'm in D-Town. I'm in D-Town. You know, temptation. I hear it. So they would all want to know what is taking place. And I told them I would share that with them when we have our final year-round meeting of conference on various artists that's moving forward and do what needs to be done to make sure that the legacy of art within the African American community don't die. So with that, I'll take the time at this point to share with you my concerns and how I got involved in the arts. My involvement was a divine experience. Being a Vietnam combat veteran makes a great difference when you transition from the war zone back to society. And as you well may know, society was a foolish place at the time. And with that war, what we're talking about is 50 years later. I went in 1966. Today being 2018, that's 50 years. 50 years that war took place. And in that war, of the 58,000 that died, 7,247 African Americans died. Young brothers. They gave their life at a time when they really wasn't respected in America. Some of them were sent home in body bags and couldn't be buried in certain cemeteries. And that was a traumatic effect on me, on many of us that returned home. And when you look at the impact of war on yourself, coming back to civilian life, you're no more normal. There's nothing normal about it. There's no transition process. The VA wasn't equipped to deal with the trauma of the veteran. Then the suicide rate went up. The crime rate went up. And all of the things that was happening began to dawn on me, man, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And through various activities, some of it included being part of Detroit at the time, wheeling and dealing in the things that you shouldn't be. But nevertheless, a brother contacted me one day. He said, man, I heard about you and what you've been through, and what you need to be saved. I said, brother, what is your problem? What do you mean, be saved? He said, you need Christ. We are all Vietnam veterans over here, and we all found the answer. Christ promised it to us. He said, I'll give you peace that no man can give. And as I went to the first meeting, it was almost like an AA meeting. They was all killers. They was all murderers. I said, brother, this is a mean group. He said, you belong in it. You belong in it. Because if you don't belong here, you won't fit nowhere else. The world do not understand you, and your message will never become a part of society. And as that process took place in various meetings, we studied the scriptures. We did like the Galilean saints. We studied them daily. We did them like a manuscript on a constant track, going back and forth, finding fault. If God said he's going to die, if he bit into that fruit, then why is he still living? You know, we had all kind of discussion. But all of that wound up being a basic message of God ordaining us to move forward. Not in combat, but in social structure order. And God blessed me with a divine process of art that made it possible to follow Dr. King's teaching. Nonviolent, socially acceptable, and it has to cross cultural lines. And that's what art does. That's what art does. So when I got to Aurora, Illinois, in my travels in life, I bought this house, and I was fixing the house up because I was beginning to, as they might say, rest and dress. I was ready. And all of a sudden I heard this voice saying, you can't do that. I said, what do you mean? Who was that? And it was somebody from the county office, county board, telling me about zoning, what you can't do. And I shared with him that I'm trying to build me a house so I can begin my life. Now here you come telling me what I can't do. I done bought this property. And that's when the real issue started. Fighting county government, dealing with issues that didn't make sense, and the community was ravaged with crime, gangs, and doing the things that necessarily destroy the community. And at that point, I began to ask the Lord, well, what can I do? Find something for me to do. Because there's no way that we can survive like this. And one day I was invited to an art show, an art exhibit at Navy Pier in Chicago. And when I went to that program, all I could see in the building was white people. White people. And when the white women would move their hand, that diamond would act a fool, a complete fool. I was just almost blinded by time. I said, wow, this is something. And as I went around the table looking at the art, it was African art. And the white guy was standing at the table, and I asked him, I said, well, who did that? And you could tell he didn't want me bothered with questions because I wasn't about money. I was just inquiring. And he said, this is from Senegal, this is from Ghana, this is, and he was named. I said, well, where's the artist? And he said, he's in Africa. I said, why he's not here? Because I would like to talk to him about it. But I found out that day that art is money. They had that machine where you buy something and they put that machine, and I kept hearing it click, 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 cha-ching, cha-ching. I said, wow, this is something. And I knew right then and there that God was saying, your path is art. Your path is art. You got to find a way to get in that art world. I said, well, I'm going to go back to school. And some said, no, it's not in school. They're not teaching this. This is a process that you follow by God without any reservation. You don't need permission. You don't need degree. All you need is what? Malcolm, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, and those men that they had dedication. That's what I got. I got dedication. There's nothing like Dr. Smith's enthusiasm in art. I do art 24 hours a day. While I'm standing here now, I'm putting Heidelberg pieces together in my mind. You know, my mind is working. When I'm driving, I drove here 19 hours straight without stopping, just stopping to get gas. And that's a hell of an event for a person almost 80 years old. That's why I tell old folks, there's nothing wrong with being old. You just got to feel better. But anyway, that was the trauma of the art. And that's when I started this site right here. And I began coming out of the continent of Africa, sharing the information of the African American experience, coming through the Middle Passage, the slave ship, the endured personal pain and suffering, laying in their own body waste at the bottom of the ship, 16 inches apart. And knowing the story and the history of that, and what an African can take, coming across those many waters, they survived in the bottom of that slave ship. They survived, they were conditioned. And when they took them on topside to wash them off, they were still standing there. Oh my God. And as I looked into that deeper part of history of the African experience, I found out that there's something in them that goes beyond culture of other people. Believe me, to endure what they endured on that slave ship, then to arrive in Jamestown, Virginia, to be branded and marshaled off and the slave condition, I knew right then and there, you got something going. You just got to find out who you are. And that's what I did. I did a lot of soul searching, spiritual searching, and a whole lot of addressing issues. And then I wanted to add that to saving and helping the community. Because my concern was the young people in those gangs, killing young girls pregnant at 15, young boys taking care of their mama's rent with drug money. And I knew something was wrong. And as I made my commitment to the church to begin to find out what's happening, I said, I'm going to find out what the problem is. If the church is the light of the world, the salt of the earth, why are these problems so deeply embedded in the community? What is the problem? And then I found out, like the brother told me in the beginning, the church needs to be saved. The church needs to be saved. And I went after the minister, the bishops, the preachers, and we got in it. We talked about it. I opened up the scriptures and shared with them Isaiah 56 and 10. God is showing that you just a greedy dog, loving the slumber, not taking care of the flock. The sheep is all over the place, in drugs, family deterioration, destruction, and here you speaking in tongues and they don't have a dime. You take all the money on Sunday, collect it on Tuesday at Bible class, collect donation, and then put it in a white man's bank where we can't even get a loan. Give me a break. Give me a break. And I went after it. And that's what God gave me to do. I went straight at it. That's why they hate Dr. Smith. They hate Dr. Smith. All in the community, I went at him. And I told him, if God gives you a plan to save the community, will you accept it? Yeah. I said, well, I'm going to show you. Economic is a major key factor in survival. So we're going to do a plan, we're going to call it Amen. Amen means so be it. Amen. It's Aurora Minority Equity Network. Amen. Amen. So this is what we carried to the people. They had 7 museums in Aurora of white history. Not a single statement about African Americans in Aurora that defended this country, that served this country, built this country. And the slaves passed through Aurora through the Underground Railroad. I shared with them, your ignorance is overwhelming. It's beyond belief. And as I began to encounter all of the objections and all the rejection, he crazy. The kids would say, well, we want to learn what Dr. Smith is doing so we can learn how to grow up. And I told them, I said, the kids want it. Why would you reject it? But they was rejecting the truth that God had sent. Because I didn't have any children, didn't have any real interest in them other than the fact of trying to save them. Because I know that's a good pathway to heaven, saving the children. Jesus loved the children. Suffer them to come unto me. And that's what programs need to do. Nurture the children. Don't leave the child out there denied and neglected and disrespecting themselves and doing the things that they do. So as time moved on, the site began to be a continuous program. We were the first to teach what you need to know about the police. That's Rodney King. And I would tell the young men, you cannot run from the police. When you run, you increase your crime problem. And if that police officer gets hurt chasing you, you done added another part to that crime. And we used to teach them to go around the community and live like they're supposed to and work within the spirit of the teaching and then come about with a way of life that you can better yourself. And many of them did. The site right now in Aurora is run by a group of young men that was in gangs. They said, Dr. Smith, you helped me. I said, no, Christ helped you. That's who helped you. Because if you lean on me, you'll fall. But if you lean on Christ, you'll never fall. See, in this way, you guide them through the process. This is the door to the house. That's the last thing the slave saw when he left Goree Island to be branded and carried to the ship. This is the door that Mother Mamie Till Mobley stood at and told me, she said, Dr. Smith, she said, I want to stand by this door and I pray that God carry you out this door and put your program on the road. That's the problem today. The road is not filled with God's disciples. And as she talked about this door, that place right now is sitting neglected. That whole site. Because I shared with them when I went on the road, that's your job to take care of that. That's just like I'm deceased. I'm moving on. I'm rising. I'm going down I-55 corridor. I'm hooked up with cola. Coal is the mothership. And as we go down from Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, we got things to do. And thereby they not having the knowledge of it and following behind ignorance of preachers, and then the mayor that is super stupid, because with this situation being like it is, and I'm serious, that's our greatest problem, our black leaders. You can't talk to them. That's from the Congressional Black Caucus from the top. That's from the NAACP. That's from the United Negroes in college having fun. This is a serious situation. And the more you talk to them, the more they back up and disown you. But like I told you, you're not hurting me. You're hurting the kids and the community. That's the problem. And this is why I honor so much what Tyree has done, because programs like this, we put it together for the kids so that they can come and learn. We show them an exhibit. See those the boys saying welcome, those are the kids that died. So if you're looking at them as kids holding up flags, they had flags in their hand, those are the kids that died from gang violence. That picture changed then. They're not holding flags, they're holding their own memorial. Somebody shot them. And it's still happening right now, today, in New Orleans. While they're partying and second line and going down the street on Canal Street, 2 blocks over, 1 block over, there's 2, 3 killings. Blacks, killing blacks. White folks drinking drugs, going down the street on Canal, enjoying themselves. And that is a shame, a complete shame. So I just made up my mind. I was telling the brothers that I was a part of with the veterans group. They said, well, we want you to come and do an art show. I said, no, you're not able to afford my presence. I'm walking in another direction. And I bought a truck, a 24-foot box truck to carry the art in, to do shows. They say, well, what are we going to do? I don't know what you're going to do. Until you make up your mind to better yourself as a man, to fix things, there's nothing going to happen in this world for you. Look at our situation. On the 16th of this month, that'll be 22 years for the Million Man March. And you can't find 2 brothers walking together right now. The community is still in the shape they're in. Spike Lee lied, put us on the bus, took the money and went somewhere else. Get on the bus. That's what's happening. So when we look at the issue from the inside, it's us. It's us. And I tell them all the time, they don't like my rhythm and my conversation about it. I say, it's us. You are one of the most powerful people on the earth. And after a while, you're going to be just like the Native American, gone, kaput, and out. Because those of you like me that don't use that smartphone, you might well go get your casket now. Because I don't do internet, I don't do email, I don't do computer, I don't answer my phone until I want to. I don't let nothing bother me in this world, because it's all going to pass away. And that's why I'm sharing with you the importance of art for people. It's the most easiest, logical position to present the people with our problems. And until we see our condition, we can never better ourselves. Hosea and the prophets of God's book said, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And all that means is that they're ignorant. They're ignorant. I teach class lectures all around different places. That's how I met Tyree. when I heard about his work and saw him on TV with Oprah Winfrey laughing at him, "You got to see this, you got to see this." And she was just barely over laughing. And I was looking there and I said, wow, that's deep. And I knew right then and there needed to be a means of me meeting that brother. Because I know what he must be going through emotionally and spiritually, that he needs support. Because the Bible says iron sharpeneth iron. And I knew I had to hook up with him. And I started that journey toward Detroit. And I met that brother. And when I met that brother, I said, man, what do we have here? It looks like a war zone, and all I see is families that died and left the last means of what they had laying on the ground, and you done picked it up. You done put it in an artistic form. And I talked with him intensely about different things, and we wind up going down the same road together. It sounds just like music. It's like two things, when they come together, it fits right in. Like the Temptations, and they move. They got so moved, they choreographed and got going. And we talked and talked and talked, and I enjoyed them so much. I enjoyed Janine so much. And I honor her in her depth and her knowledge and her experience. And I tell my wife all the time, I said, baby, if the sisters can get behind Janine, they would be a new people. They would be a new people. They need help, real help. In all my dealings, business, art shows, exhibits, I've never met another Janine. Never met. There is none. There is none. Believe me, I don't waste time being kind to people, because kindness don't make you. What makes you is your commitment to what you're doing. And that, sister, is it. There's only two African-American sisters in the folk art world that deserve that kind of respect. That's that sister standing back there, Janine and Cleo, with Into It. If you know another, bring them to me. I got a job for them. Because this is what it's going to take. People that's committed to do something. Education won't get them out of that situation. They need to be dedicated. When we met Malcolm X, that's what started my teaching about dedication. I never met a person so dedicated in what they were doing, so committed to what they was about. And it just made us afraid. And I told the brother, I said, man, we going to Vietnam to kill somebody. We need to be here. Woo! But I thank God for it. I thank God for the whole journey. Because when you let God use you, you're going to be a blessing to somebody. And that's how my process started, and that's how I gathered my understanding. And I don't feel comfortable with people pushing people on me, telling me how great they are. I always ask them, show me their works by their faith, and I'll show you my faith by my works. I don't appreciate nobody pushing Obama on me as greatness. I appreciate what he has done for himself, his family, and us as a people of color. But don't bring him to me as one of power to fix situations when he had the position to do it and didn't. I knew him when he was a senator. I knew him when this place was in danger. Not this one, that's in Louisiana there. That's another swamp there. But I talked to his staff. I said, you got to get together and deal with these white people that's trying to block this project, that's trying to kill this dream. He said, we know about you. You're very militant, and we trying to do this. He was trying to get to the point where he got, which is president, and I didn't appreciate it. And I let anybody know that. If you don't like something or like somebody, say that. Clean your conscience. Don't wear nothing around that you don't look good in. You don't look good in nothing that don't fit you. You understand? And this is what I'm saying about people in leadership positions. All he had to do was make a phone call. Mr. McCoy, yes, Senator Obama, give Dr. Smith a meeting to explain what he's doing and get back with me. That's all he had to do. I wasn't asking him for no money. He didn't do it. And that's why the program began to die and the white folk began to attack. And I began then to put signs in the yard. White folks sent blacks to Vietnam to fight communism, only to return home to racism. Long live black folk. That was the issue, survival. I was fighting all I can with what I had. And then one day, two people knocked on the door that happened to be from Cola. Miss Terry Yoho and Barb. They knocked on the door and they asked me questions about the museum. They asked me questions about the art, what my message was, what I'm doing. And as they shared with me what they do and what they're about, and I said, that's great. So they came back on regular occasion talking about the site, about the art. The yard was full. The yard was full of art. I mean, a lot of art. And as time went by, they finally came by and said, we are interested in preserving your art and your message. And when they said that, I began to think, well, if they buy the art, they might want to buy me and change me and fix me over, Frankenstein me. I said, no, we got to talk. And as we talk, I share with them, I don't change. I'm not changing what I'm saying because what I'm saying is based on biblical principles and truth and the legacy of those that died that never was recognized, and I'll never sell that out. She said, we're not asking you to sell that out. What we're asking you is let us preserve what you've done and make sure your legacy live on. So when she said that, we made a deal, and as we made the deal, I could have died the next day because my life was over. It didn't matter. Nobody could touch Dr. Smith. That was it. And then the next couple of weeks, the long, big tractor trailers were rolling down that neighborhood. And it had cola, cola, cola. Everybody in the neighborhood was looking. I said, yeah, that's cola. That's cola. Cola bought 5 tractor trailer loads, 40 footers of that art. 5 loads of that trailer. And we did a wonderful thing in our relationship and partnering, and it has been a marvelous experience ever since. And I pledged to Cola, there will be no more cussing. There will be no more disrespect. I will carry myself in honor and dignity for which you afforded me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I don't want to sit behind the table. I want to sit up front because what I'd like to do is just have a little dialogue with you, with our audience here from Detroit, mostly from Detroit, but we also welcome our other friends and visitors from all around, and thank you for the kind words you said. I want to share with you guys that in 2000, I believe it was 2001, I curated my first and only exhibition that consisted of Dr. Charles Smith, Dr. Tyree Guyton, Lonnie Holly, Mr. Imagination, who's now deceased, and John Abdul, who's also now deceased. If you could just use your imagination to imagine these 5 guys walking down Heidelberg Street, all in a line, all in step, just coming towards us. It was the most phenomenal experience I have ever seen. These 5, what I call masters, who have been affected by their lives and their communities. And it's where their passion comes from to do the work that they do. And a lot of times we don't understand it. A lot of times the truths are so hard. But Dr. Smith is exactly right. If we don't ever really look at the truth, how do we ever think that we can actually solve problems? Or we can make this place a better place? We've got to start somewhere. And the truth is that the African American community in the city of Detroit, in the nation, has been ravaged. And so we stand as open arms to embrace all people, but certainly to fix and look at ways in which we can help heal those that are most broken. It's so very important. And listen, I love all people. Tyree and I talk about this all the time. That's the symbolism behind the polka dots. So, but we all have to hear our truths. So that's very important. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, get your mic.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have a little dialogue, ask a few questions. I don't know, we're gonna just, you know what, can I get a couple of guys to push the table back so we can sit out front? That's what I think would be better. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, now get a chair right here. Get your mic.
Get that off.
So one of the things that I'm hoping that I wanted this conference to also do is to help us to get a little bit more comfortable with talking about things that aren't always so comfortable. All right, so the first thing I wanted to say to you or ask you, and then I would like the audience to feel free to think up some good questions. Tell me what you felt as a connection from the work that you're doing in Aurora and New Orleans, and that what Tyree is doing with the Heidelberg Project.
The connection is way in advance with Tyree compared to where I'm at, because my fight is with black ignorance and white racism. Tyree don't have that fight. That's why I was telling the guy on the phone the other day, Tyree got support. Tyree got people around him that's got sense, black and white. You know, I mean, the brother's moving the mothership forward. And what I said to you guys when I first met you is that those ones that you mentioned that them passed on, see, they should have latched on. That's what I told them at the hotel. We need to come and be with Tyree. You need to leave California. I'll leave from Chicago. I'll leave from where and come here. Because at that time, my pocket was right because Cole had done taken care of me. And I told him, I said, I'll help put the down payment on the house you need. Let's just pick one and go and submit ourselves under Janine. I'm telling you. Well, look how far we would have been if that excited her 5 brothers throwing down on all in the magnitude they did. You can imagine where we would have been by now.
Well, I think
we would have been halfway across Detroit heading into Canada.
Well, I want to just say that it might not have been realistic to uproot folks, but I think what I want to say that we're making a case for is arts administrators. Okay, just to bring it home, I think that we're making a case for arts administrators and to have someone that actually can support artists as they go on and do their work. I have very strong issues about artists being expected to market, promote, sell themselves, and do all these things. That is one of the reasons why they fall down. And then we get mad because they whine and complain. But we haven't treated our artists with the respect that they deserve, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Let's take some questions from the audience. Anybody? Questions? Don't be scared. Anybody, questions? This is a legend here. This man has been working for a long time. We brought him here because we really wanted to show that we're not the only ones doing the work we're doing around the country and the world. And what some of the struggles have been. And some of these struggles wouldn't necessarily have to be, but they are. Lisa.
Dr. Smith, can you tell the folks here what happened to get you working on your site in Hammond, Louisiana?
The question, I'll reframe, that'll work better. So what happened to get Dr. Smith working on his site in Hammond?
Yeah, that's a very interesting story. I'm making serious comments to leave a legacy for public officials, seriously about it. Let me share with you how I got to Hammond. I was on my way to New Orleans to give assistance to my mother. That Alzheimer's thing had come in, and she had to start going out and going different places by herself and different. And those of you that had knowledge about Alzheimer's, that's a serious situation. But anyway, I stopped on my way in Hammond to get some gas and get something to eat. And whenever I travel, I always stop and ask the people, where's your culture for African American history? Do you have a museum and so forth? So I was in this restaurant and I was asking this young lady, and she said, no, there's no museum, no. And the guy in the kitchen was cooking. He heard the conversation, and he said, what about where that boy, where you got hung, where that tree, where that boy laying on that ground, dead? I said, wait a minute, bro. What you saying, what's happening there? He says, over there. No, and the South is a whole new world, believe me. So what he was saying was there was a boy that was on the ground dead about 2 blocks from City Hall, and what it really is the founder's grave. And the statement on the marker, which is a legal Louisiana state marker, it reads, here lies Pete Hammond, his wife, his 3 daughters, and his favorite slave boy. And I looked at that and said, shit, that don't sound right.
You said you're gonna be good, Doc.
Something is not right about that. A slave boy. So I started asking the people walking by, I said, this sign here, what about the boy, the slave? Is he a man or what? We've been boys all our lives, no matter how old he is. So what happened? And they didn't know. So I got curious about it, because like they say in the Marine Corps, you never leave somebody behind. So he's left behind. He's been there 150 years laying in that grave, and nobody knows who he is. So I began to search and ask questions. It wasn't happening. I went downtown developments. I went to the Chamber of Commerce. I went to the Tourist Bureau, and it was getting late. But I said, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go get me a room, stay overnight, and get up in the morning to go and search out somebody to tell me about this slave boy. And nobody knew anything. So finally I got to the point where I said, you should have did this first, and went to the mayor's office. I went to the mayor's office, and I said, sir, my name is Dr. Charles Smith. I'm an environment builder, folk art and culture, and build museum sites. And I would like to get the understanding of that founder's grave and Pete Hammond. What is the boy's name? Was he a child, a man, or what? He said, well, I really couldn't tell you. He said, but what you need to do is go to Southeastern and ask Dr. Hyde. He do all the history in the parishes here. I said, what you're saying to me is that if I wanted to know about something of culture here in Hammond, I would have to go over to the university and ask them, rather than have a place, a museum or culture center, to figure that out, to talk about it. He said, yes. I said, that won't work. That won't work.
I need you to speed it up. We're gonna get a couple more questions in before we close this. Tell us what the end result was.
The end result was, I decided that this would be the African American Heritage Museum and Black Veteran Archive #2. And I went and bought a house and put the art up and started building. And I made direct communication with the leaders there, the African American leaders. And that's a whole new brand of ignorance that need to be studied. The Center for Disease Control need to go there and deal with that.
All right, let's take another question. Christine,
Yes. Dr. Smith, what are you working on right now?
what are you working on right now?
The Native American. What America did to the Native American was so shameful and so unbelievable. To me, it's so close to Auschwitz and Buchenwald and Krakow. But what they did to the Native American is unbelievable. I met Wilma Mankiller at the Smithsonian when I went to get some of my work inducted into the Smithsonian. And she told me about it. And I heard it, and then I began to study it, and then I went to their museum in Washington. And it was so shameful what America did to the Native American. And now that Louisiana is in the 300-year tricentennial, I'm pushing the Native American. That whole parish is designed and named regarding Native American. And you can't find two Indians walking down the street. No place of history for them.
Tyree?
Tell me, or tell us about the spiritual side of you.
So the question is to talk about, can you talk a little bit about the spiritual side of you?
Well, the spiritual side of me is a quite lengthy conversation. That's why
We're going to condense it though.
That's why God put me in the pastoring. I pastored for 12 years in Tennessee. And what happened is, that's what everybody needs, that encounter. Because before you leave this life, you have to have that encounter to be saved in eternity. I'm telling you.
Doc, I want you to talk a little bit about it though from the perspective of not going to a physical edifice or going to a building or following some kind of sect or cult. What you're really talking about is how you acknowledge that within yourself. Is that right?
I'm acknowledging how he acknowledged me.
Yes.
Because I requested it. When you've been on drugs, full of hate, full of confusion, angry. Because when I came home from Vietnam, I told my wife, I said, baby, look, we're not the same people. You may be the same. I know I'm not. And I'm not dragging you down this drug road with me. Because I'm going to stay on this drug road until they find a way to help us. But the point, what I'm saying regarding that is, I took this shower and I throw my hands up to God. I said, God, find a place in your work for me. Because they had killed Dr. King. And everything we had was gone. All the hope was gone. That's why when I lecture and I teach about our urban community and what's happening among us, physically and spiritually, we died when Dr. King died. There's not been a move or a step forward since then. And this poster, where is it?
Where's the poster?
You see the poster?
Yeah, it's coming.
It's coming, Doc.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We have in our conference of artists, where do we fit in society when I get back? Socially and politically. And this is my postal statement that sits at the table. The purpose of that is we're going to break up just like she did yesterday in that room. Everybody going to go to their table. Say, Dr. Smith, I don't agree with that. I don't feel Dr. King's dream is dead. Well, you go over there. And you feel that the dream is dead, you go over here. And we all gonna meet in the middle and find a solution to these gangs, drugs, crime, family deterioration, young men walking away from the possibility of their greatness. And we're gonna stay there and the door gonna be locked until we come up with an answer that we all agree with. And get it back to people like Janine to put it in her intelligence and begin the process. How do we put this out to the public? Because you got to find a horse to ride Paul Revere through this mess that we in.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question as an artist. I need help with an answer. My husband, my parents, my siblings, the society, my friends, they question me, what is the value of your art? I was born in India, my art is really vibrant, it's bright, it's colorful. Every time it's presented in front of someone, they stop, they look at it, they say it's so beautiful. I've only been doing this 3 years, but I've had it in me since I was a kid. Sometimes my friends would think my teacher is drawing my sketchbook because it just came naturally to me. But my question is, I've in the last 3 years tried to take, just like the broom sweeping the dirt, I've tried to take the paintbrush to sweep the malice from a lot of people who have the money, who have the means, but they do not want to see art as anything of value. They don't want their kids in art classes, they don't want their kids they won't mind spending thousands of dollars on robotics and STEM and math and science, which I know is very important, I grew up that way. But my point is, I've done 15 shows in 3 years. I've grabbed every opportunity. I've said to my husband, I love my Walmart $8 shirt. I love my Target $15 pant. I don't want a $200 designer thing, but I want that money so I can do that show, so I can present my art to somebody. And in those 15 shows, I sold 2 pieces to people I didn't know. Everything little that everybody else buys for $50.
How long have you been an artist? 3 years?
3 years. Yeah, I'm an architectural designer. I worked for 11 years in Michigan for Redstone Architects and NSA Architects, and I gave that up. And everybody's like, you are mad, you're crazy, you were earning so many $1,000s, and what is wrong with you?
What's your first name?
Archana, Aneja. And I just did the TEDx.
Arneja?
Yes, I just did the TEDx here in Detroit. I have tried to grab every opportunity I possibly can, not to show that my art is value. The money, I tell my husband, I go to these shows hoping it doesn't sell.
I'm going to stop you, and I want to ask you to just relax,
Yeah.
okay? Just relax. It's all good. We're all in the same boat together. We've all been working hard for a very long time. We'll come back to you, okay? We'll have another conversation, because really, this that I feel that you're talking about right now is in you. You're anxious. You want something to happen. Your peers probably don't think you've made good choices and so forth and so on. But just be patient. Stay with us and be patient, because we don't have it. I don't know what you want to tell her, but that's what I have to say.
I mean, I'm not regretting even a second of what I've done. My only question is, when somebody wants to put a value to your art just in terms of money, because I tell everybody, my husband, my parents, I say, I go to these shows hoping my art doesn't sell, because I have 2 children, I have a household, and I have 10,000 things that I can't create art so quickly that I have more pieces to create, because everything takes money, raw material, time and effort.
But what's your question?
My question is, when they say your art doesn't sell, so it's not of good value, make what the people want, make a neutral painting, make something which means something, but what comes from my heart is my art. how do I make them, I mean, I know there's a need to make them understand, but how do I make them understand this is me, this is what comes from within me. I will not change my abstract, I will not change my red colors.
Okay, we got it.
Yeah.
You want to help her?
Confusing.
What ethnicity are you?
What
I'm
ethnicity?
Indian.
Indian.
I was born in India, but I've lived here for 18 years.
Are you affiliated with any institution that you attend, church or school?
I went to Lawrence Tech for masters in architecture. I was in Germany for 4 years. That complicates everything, and I just got back 2 years ago.
You know, the safest bet for an artist like you, the safest bet for an artist like you that's wandering in that degree of where you want to go, where you want to do, is like they say in the Marine Corps, you're not really right until you shooting a rifle and hit the target. You're not hitting what you're shooting at. So what you need to do is take history of your culture and carry it to those institutions that identify with you and start there. See, just like we supposed to be able to go to African American museums and deal with them, they don't, but white folks do.
All right. Questions? I hope that was helpful to you. And like I said, we can talk a little bit later, a little bit more personally if you'd like, okay? Yes? Susan?
Where did those 4 truckloads, solar truckloads of your amazing artwork, where were they taken to?
So Susan has asked, where were those amazing 4 trucks of work that Kohler picked up? Where were they taken to?
They were taken to Kohler. They were taken to the Kohler Art Center in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. And those of you that never had the experience of going to Sheboygan, Wisconsin, to the Kohler Art Center, believe me, in the art world, you're missing something. That place will stagger your imagination. The enthusiasm of its employees and the professionalism of their staff. That's where you learn professionalism in art at Kohler, watching their people. They all work like a dime. They all work like a regime. Everything. When they assign somebody to you, they handle you just like a carpet. They on point.
Let me give Christine an opportunity. I'm sorry, he put you on the spot because Kohler is here. And I want to share with you guys that as Tyree is deconstructing part of the Heidelberg project, Kohler is also going to take some of the works of the Heidelberg project. So I think it's only appropriate that you talk about how Kohler is preserving. Because some people could think it's a little controversial. You're taking the artwork out of its original habitat. Where's it gonna go? How's it gonna look? Come on, Christine.
Sure.
There you go.
So just a couple of points to clarify. I represent the Kohler Foundation, and we partner with the John Michael Kohler Art Center in Sheboygan. So we collaborate with artists around the country and with Dr. Smith and Tyree and many, many others. And really at the core of our mission of the foundation is to help continue the legacy of self-taught artists. And a lot of that work remains in situ, and there are opportunities where it cannot. And preservation takes on a variety of different forms. So in the case of Dr. Smith, some of the work remained in situ. Other works have been gifted to the John Michael Kohler Art Center and potentially other museums as well. So every project, every artist, all has a unique opportunity and message, and we really try to tailor the approach and where the art ends, so there is a legacy and preservation, hopefully in perpetuity.
I don't know of another institution in the country that is looking and working to preserve outdoor art environments. So I think we're very fortunate to have that. And, you know, the one question that I asked Terry Yoho is, you know, the environments that don't allow these spaces to exist. What happens if that changes? What happens, for example, what happens if Detroit says, oh, we want Heidelberg all back restored? Can we get our art back? It was a question, it was a joke, but okay, obviously it didn't work. No, I'm just saying, what happens if the parameters open back up to allow for the environment to bring the work back because the city has caught on, or the organization, or in any city, they've caught on and said, yes, we embrace this, we want it, we see that it helps our communities.
Well, let me say, by the grace of God, Tyree has moved beyond the atmosphere in the art world. It's a telescopic discussion looking into him. You know, he's not at this level. He really shouldn't even be sitting in the audience. He needs to be up in the chair up there. Because I'm telling you, that's where the art world is. The art world is like that. You take care of them while they're alive and you honor them when they're dead. Because when Kohler touched him, there's no other touch he needs. Because the advancement that goes from there, and just to show you what I'm talking about, I went to Kohler for, I don't know what it was, a discussion or whatever, and Karen, the curator at Kohler's Art Center, she said, Dr. Smith, she said, would you like to see some of your art? I said, yeah, well, you know how they do art, just put it in the basement over there up under boxes and on cloth on top of it and stuff. But she said, well, it's downstairs. And when we went downstairs, believe me, it was a huge building with 12-foot fire doors that even Ruth Kohler herself couldn't go in that room until that attendant allowed her. And when she showed me that art, it was on tills, and she hit that button, and the art started rolling around. The pieces started going around. I said, Lord have mercy. They just blew my mind. You hear me? And that piece came up, and I thought about Tyree's clock. I got a piece in that Kohler show, and it came around, and I saw it, and the clock is in the face, and the clock said, Hebrews 9:27 is appointed unto man once to die. Oh my goodness, I said, Lord, look at here. Believe me, anything that takes place with Cole and Tyree, everybody in Detroit will respect them. Believe me. They have honor and dignity, and they treat them with utmost respect. And the reason why they'll be blessed, they'll have an inside dialogue with what Janine has. See, that's what they don't have. They don't have a Janine. They don't have a Janine. And once they sit down with Janine and she broadened that picture, it's like a doctor, an optometrist. He adjusting that glass on your eye. See, and that's what you're going to do for COVID.
Okay.
That's what you're going to do for COVID.
Can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
See, that's what they need. See, conversations in business should always be handled, like I tell my wife, with women. See, because women know how to do that. That's why they need a woman president. Because they know what to do with the budget, with the house, and with the common sense and tolerance, you know. But they're so crazy now in America, don't nobody want to touch nothing politics. But what Kohler needs is Janine, to set her in the midst of them and say, here's the picture, watch it. And when she explains it, they're showing the Sputnik of Tyree going forward. Because see, all Kohler is predominantly white. There's no black on the board to deal with the issue the way it needs to be dealt with. But with Janine's conversation, like she carried that information yesterday, and with you guys behind her, Detroit is on its way.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a break, and we're going to get ready for our next part two. Thank you, Doc.